Hello there folks and welcome back to the MotoGP podcast hosted by the Motorcast channel. Today we've got a three strong team for the first time in quite a few weeks. We've got myself, Matty Bolton and Beni as the guests. So a very good race obviously in Austria. We had Dovizioso winning the race with Marquez in P2 and Dani Pedrosa in P3. So let's discuss Ducati. Let's get straight into it first with the winner of Dovizioso, Matty. Just a good ride. I mean, it was behind Marquez at one point, but just a good ride from Dovizioso to win the race and really reaffirm his championship hopes.
It was a good race from Dovi. A track which beforehand we would have said, it kind of suits the Ducati quite a bit. But I'd say during the race that obviously the Honda kind of just turned up out of nowhere really. Like I certainly wasn't expecting them to be as close as they were, and to be honest, I think they looked the faster bike too. I'm sure. Well, we'll get on to talking to Marquez in a bit, but in terms of Dovi, I think it's the perfect way to get his championship sort of back on track after a slow couple races.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree there. And obviously, Beni Lorenzo, Ducati, Dovizioso's teammate, he started really well. He was in first place for a while, but unfortunately, once sort of Marquez got past, then it started sort of going back a little bit. But still, P4. For Lorenzo's standards this year, it's not been great season. Obviously, it's been a rebuilding season after leaving Yamaha, coming into Ducati. It was a decent race, wasn't it, for Lorenzo?
Yeah, it was pretty decent, After the start, I thought that he was gonna be much closer to the top, but in the end, he still doesn't seem to be perfectly on top of the bike, but it definitely looked like to be quite a big improvement over especially the start of the season. Lorenzo seems to be getting better on the bike, but he still lacks that just that one bit that that Dovizioso's got. He just can't hold it through the whole race.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. It seems like a stamina thing, doesn't it? He starts really well, and then he can't seem to last the whole race. It's a bizarre thing, but I think Lorenzo's getting a little bit more suited to that Ducati bike, and it's definitely nice to see. So let's talk about Honda a little bit. And Matty, I'd argue with Marquez, because as you say, the Honda bike came alive in the race. Obviously only got P2. Would you say Marquez was the best rider of the weekend?
It's a little bit debatable, because I'd say arguably it's the mistakes he did that kind of cost him the race win, especially coming into turn 3 at the back of the straight. He misses braking point a couple times into turn 1 as well. So I think he was the fastest rider, but I'm not sure if he exactly had the best overall kind of race weekend. If barring the mistakes, you would say that Marquez should really be winning those.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree there. Obviously, he was really close to the back of Dovizioso. At the end of the race, he did go for a diving move up the inside, but he ran wide, and Dovizioso won in the end. But Beni, obviously, Pedrosa P3, solid weekend for him.
Yeah, very solid, especially with what it looked like after quali. He had to go to Q1, and then he didn't really have a big impact in Q2. So after that, he didn't really look like to be on the same pace as Marquez, but he really in the race, he just came alive, and he was quite quick, and in the end a solid P3 and marking, so he's still in the fight, I think, but it's still gonna be very tough for Dani.
Yeah, you're right there. Obviously, Vinales and Rossi dropping points, only finishing 6th and 7th, so that's really crucial for Pedrosa to get those points. Actually, sort of in the fight, but maybe losing out a little bit to his teammate and the likes of Dovizioso as well. So let's talk about Yamaha now. So let's talk about Zarco first on the Tech 3 bike. And he just seems to amaze every single weekend. P5 after a fantastic weekend, beating both of his Yamaha teammates, if you like, on the MotoGP bike, on the factory bike. Folger got a DNF, that was all a shame. And Folger seemed to be quite quick as well. But Zarco, Beni, he just keeps performing. I know you're a Zarco fan, and how pleased are you?
Yeah, very pleased. He just, Brno wasn't really the perfect weekend for him, and especially with the lake bike swap. But he really came alive this weekend. He was really quick, and after the first three free practice sessions, I think he was actually second in the combined times. Just behind Marquez. So qualifying, I don't know what they were trying to do with only one run of 5 laps on the soft tire. I'm not sure if it was the best choice, but in the race he also did brilliantly, finished ahead of both factory Yamahas who looked quicker the whole weekend, and I think he keeps amazing us, and I think he's just one of those riders, that can do it. And I think I've said it before, but he's the best rookie in the MotoGP class since Marquez, and this weekend just reaffirms it. P5, keeping up with the guys, and I think he wasn't too far off Lorenzo in the end, but he's just the rookie of the season.
Yeah, just under a second. That's just amazing, to be quite honest. To be so close to all those factory bikes, within obviously a different world of bikes, for Zarco to be in there is quite incredible. Obviously, really got the same bike as the Yamaha factory team, but it's set up differently, of course.
They're using last year's frames, the Tech Free boys.
Oh, right, I didn't realise that. I thought it was the same bike. But, I mean, all for all, apart from the frame, pretty much quite similar to that Yamaha, and obviously competing with that Yamaha with those last year's frames in that case is very good. Obviously, let's talk about Vinales before we talk about Rossi Matty. I feel a little bit with Vinales. He crashed in Assen, he's had a few bad races, and really the morale's down for him at the moment. And he started in Qatar, the second race in Argentina, winning 2 races in a row, and ever since then, he hasn't quite been the same rider. Do you know why that is?
Yeah, like you say, he's just gone a bit off the boil. I mean, he's new to the bike, so the confidence of him seemed to be just there straight away at the start. But maybe a little bit of reality sunk in that it's obviously a long championship, and the bike seems to have lost a little bit of pace in comparison to, well, let's say the Honda. So maybe that's on his mind a little bit, and I think. It's a difficult thing to keep up the mentality for a whole season, but that's what makes a champion. A champion is able to cope with the mental demons of feeling pressure and such like. So I don't think it's any more than perhaps just a little bit of confidence with him, and I hope that he manages to get back into the right frame of mind. But obviously we saw during the race he did make a couple mistakes, so probably a mix of just feeling the pressure a little bit, and also just maybe struggling with the bike a little bit. Maybe I mean there's a good chance that Yamaha didn't quite go the right way with set up around here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely. And Beni, obviously Valentino Rossi made a mistake, which meant he only finished out in P7. Now Rossi obviously won in Assen, as his teammate crashed out, and that was quite the contrary. But he had a bad race in Brno, obviously having that late bike change. Do you think that it's down to 2 competitors in the championship now, with Dovizioso and Marquez seeming to be just the consistent point scorers and winners?
I'm not quite sure, just it's been a bad couple of races for both Yamahas in the end. It's not been terrible, but it's not been brilliant. But I don't think you can count them out yet. The gap isn't too big. It can be caught up in 2 races if everything goes their way. But so I think they're still in the fight for now. And, but they just don't seem to have the answer for the development of the Honda and or the Ducati. It's a good bike, but they just lost. I think they lost the drivability through the season somewhere, and it just doesn't look to be the same bike that it was at the start of the season. And I think Vinales, really preferred the way the bike was at the start of the season, while Rossi prefers it now better with Assen and from Assen forward. So I'm not quite sure, but but definitely both Yamahas made too many mistakes this weekend to really justify a podium or something. So just wasn't their weekend.
So that's the top 3 or 4 teams covered pretty much. We're not going to be so comprehensive with the likes of KTM and Real coming up next. But let's talk about Aspar first, Matty. 8 points for Bautista this weekend, fantastic weekend, and 2 points for Abraham. Obviously, we talked a little bit about it being sort of a Ducati-based track, and 10 points for the Aspar team. Really impressive this weekend, particularly those 8 points by Bautista.
Yeah, he had a really quite incredible race. And like you said, like we were talking about before, it is a Ducati track, in quotations, and I think that kind of just showed quite a bit. I mean, Bautista's had a fairly strong year in general, as of the Aspar team. I mean, they've had glimpses of quite a bit of promise at other races throughout the year. So I think the confidence must be high with the guys, and Bautista, I think, well, get a top 10 on the bike that they've got. I mean, obviously, there's not too much of a difference between the bikes, but the little differences do matter a little bit, and I think, it's certainly it's going to increase the morale of the guy, because Bautista's a guy who's been, I think he's been around for quite a bit now. So, am I right, Beni? Our stats man.
He's been, I think he started on the Suzuki a few years ago, back in like 2010 or something. So, yeah, he's been around for quite a while.
So obviously they've got the experience with him as well. I just had to make sure, just had to get the backup from Beni just to make sure.
Well, there we go. That's classic Beni with the stats, but that's why we've got Beni here for the stats, and to make sure we don't make fools of ourselves. But obviously a good weekend for Abraham as well. Moving on to KTM, the home team, and ironically the test rider Mika Kallio, the only one getting points for a fantastic P10, getting 6 points for the KTM team. Espargaro had a DNF, can't remember what the problem was, I'm sure Beni will tell us when he responds to the question. With Smith in P18 in the end. But Kallio, the only one with points at their home circuit. How well do you think Kallio did this weekend?
Well, he did absolutely amazingly. He really, all KTMs have been doing really, really well this weekend, By the way the bike looked at the start of the season, they barely got into the points, maybe. But to now being a point regular, challenging for the top 10, it's like, the bike development has been absolutely amazing for them, and it just shows, they've been faster and faster, the results have started coming, and I think it's really a bright future for the team, and I think they've been going the development's been faster than Aprilia's. So, just a bright future for the team, and obviously a great ride for Kallio. Espargaro had some sort of technical failure, I don't know exactly what, and Smith just doesn't seem to be, really comfortable on the bike, so sadly.
Yeah, he had that issue, didn't he, with his finger, which didn't look brilliant, but hopefully he's recovering from that a little bit now, and KTM, really the amount they've developed, we've talked about this several times, from the start of the season, is quite incredible, and it's great to see Kallio going to fight for a seat somewhere next year, whether it be KTM or wherever, but I do think that Espargaro and Smith have been confirmed for next season, but obviously that can all change. We'll talk about Sam Lowes in a little bit, by the way, if you're screaming at your screen and asking about our thoughts on Sam Lowes and Reading, all that fiasco. But let's move on to Real before we talk about that. Matty, Loris Baz, P9, brilliant for the Frenchman. A little bit like Bautista this weekend, just incredible. And Barbara, unfortunately, only down in 17th. What's your thoughts on Loris Baz this weekend?
Well, it's pretty much just mirroring what I said about Bautista. A quite incredible ride for a guy who's on a bike which probably shouldn't even be anywhere near the top 10.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, on that 2-year-old bike is Baz, I think. Yeah, he's on the 15 bike. Bautista being on the 16 bike. So Bautista technically should be a little bit further up on that logic. But Beni, what do you think of Real's this weekend?
Well, Baz really did show really all of his qualities. He really had a really good weekend, and there's nothing more to add for him. And while Barbara just, I don't know, in years past, he really did very well, but this season he just doesn't seem to be having a good season, just one of those years, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunate, I guess, for Barbara. And anyway, let's move on to Suzuki, who, only had a better weekend than Brunel. Obviously, there was a bit of, not necessarily a scrap between the teams, but a difference in opinion from Iannone and Suzuki. But he's back on it this weekend. P11 in the end. Got into Q2, and Rins unfortunately only finished out in 16th. But Matty, obviously, Iannone being Suzuki's top rider, we had a bit of confusion really in Brno because we thought that Rins was maybe taking that seat because Iannone just didn't seem on it. But what are your thoughts on the Iannone situation? Obviously, a bit of stability this weekend with that position.
Yeah, the thing, I mean, with Suzuki, I think we kind of said nearer the start of the season that it's kind of a bit disappointing from them because while the other teams seem to be going forward, especially KTM with this weekend, and Aprilia to an extent, Suzuki just seemed to be going backwards. I don't know if that's playing on Iannone's mind. Rins certainly just wasn't on it at all this weekend. Obviously, they did score points, but I don't know if it's really enough. I don't know if Suzuki will really keep the interest there if they're just scraping points and not even getting into the top 10.
Yeah, obviously being a factory team and a big factory team at that, obviously Suzuki, a huge name, in all areas. But obviously, a bad weekend for them. Iannone finishing 11th, that's good. But Rins outside the points. Don't know why that happened, but I just guess he finished outside the points. But anyway, let's move on to Pramac now, and let's talk a little bit about the Reading to Aprilia situation, the Lowe's losing his seat. But first off, Petrucci was last, and Reading got 4 points, so a decent weekend for Reading, Benny.
Yeah, I guess it was a decent weekend, he did himself, but he hasn't really been impressive in the last few years, this season, just, I don't know why, but he just doesn't seem to be comfortable on the bike, and he just doesn't seem to be getting the most out of the bike. While Petrucci, he did really well, but sadly he had a technical failure, so, yeah. So, in all, not the best of weekends for Pramac, but not the worst, I guess.
Well, obviously Reading was really good in the lower formula, so was Sam Lowe's. So, I mean, being good in the lower formulas does not sort of affirm and confirm you to be good in the higher formulas, and Lowe's really has struggled this weekend, and this season, obviously, but it's a bit harsh, isn't it, Matty? I mean, Lowe's had a 2-year contract, and for Aprilia just to treat him disgustingly from the start, really, he's had loads of bike problems, not really something that they can control. But it seems that they've neglected him, and really I can see his MotoGP career being over already. And what are your thoughts on Reading to Aprilia as well? I mean, is it really an upgrade on Sam Lowe's?
I'd say it's an upgrade on Sam Lowe's, but first of all, just to talk about Sam Lowe's a little bit, I think it's what's really happened there is kind of a vicious circle of events where he's had a bike problem, he's then been unable to perform, and then I don't know what. He's then had a little bit of confidence in the team's lacking. The team's then basically come back and just kind of thrown him out in the open with no tools, and it's just a horrible circle where he keeps on getting worse and worse and worse. And it's unfortunate for the guy because it looks like he's hardly really being given a chance, but it's a little bit vicious, and that's kind of sport, unfortunately. For Reading, he's going to be jumping right into the middle of that, and hopefully he can keep the team on his good side. So if he can do that, he should be up there or thereabouts with Espargaro, and I think it's a necessary move. You need to sort of he needs to take a chance because obviously I'm not sure he's not on the same bike as Petrucci. I don't think.
No, he's not. He's no. 16.
Obviously not that big of a difference, but we did see at the start of the season that Reading did have quite a strong couple of races from the first couple of rounds. But to go to a factory team, it's obviously a big positive for him. It's something to put on his CV if he's wanting to do that. And it gives him a chance to kind of perhaps turn some heads higher up the grid. Whether he does that or not, I'm not sure, because you'd arguably look at Alicia Espargaro, who in my opinion is a massive talent, and he seems to be struggling as well on that bike. So it's whether he sees them as a possible jumping pad, or if he sees them as a potential World Championship winning team.
Well, exactly, because Aprilia are really coming back into it and getting a bit quicker now. With those two consistent riders, maybe they can score more points, and obviously that's the whole circle idea as well. But Espargaro, Matty, you've just talked about Espargaro getting P13 this weekend. Not his best performance, but still a decent performance.
Yeah, it's solid points at least. But I think, we've seen or been promised more from Espargaro earlier in the season. The bike's had problems or he's fallen off. So to just get some points, I think is a good thing. I think he probably took it a little bit easier considering that.
Yeah, it's a shame really for Aprilia, because it's kind of gone a little bit downwards at the moment. There was a real hype train about Espargaro at the start of the season, just doing class. But especially in Austria, it's not been great. But still, hopefully, and obviously we've got Silverstone next, but hopefully for Silverstone next, we'll get a Rabat win, and all that will happen, and but let's talk about...
Before we continue, can I add my 2 cents on the Lowe situation?
Yeah, sorry, apologies, yeah, go on.
Well, this my opinion might sound harsh on Sam Lowe's, but, he just hasn't performed. Even in the races, that Sparrow finished quite well. He was nowhere near the level he should be at, even if he is the rookie. And he showed quite a bit of promise in Moto2, but in MotoGP he just hasn't found himself on the bike, and he's crashed quite a lot, which is, I think, quite a trait about him throughout his whole career. He just crashes a lot, and in the end, I wasn't really too surprised about him losing his seat. He just hasn't performed well. But what I was surprised about was Aprilia's, communication to him. He was just thrown out. No, at first they said he's got like 2 races to prove that he deserves the seat, and then they just throw him out before that even happens. So I think a bit unprofessional from Aprilia, but in the end it's not really that surprising.
Yeah, I think it's just really best for both parties that they separate, because it hasn't been a good relationship from the start. Hopefully Lowe's can find another seat, but I pretty much doubt that's going to happen now. But let's talk a little bit about Cal Crutchlow, just getting that 1 point on the LCR Honda. Matty, any thoughts on his weekend? It was a decent weekend. I think he qualified quite well. I think he was in Q2. I think he was about 8th or 9th, if I remember right, but not a good race. I think he had a bad start.
Yeah, so, I mean, with Crutchlow, he's going to be a bit disappointed that, obviously he didn't have the greatest of races, and I think he'd be looking more up towards the top of the field with where the other Hondas are, and kind of thinking, I could have been up near there. But he's had a decent run of late, so I think one kind of tardy result isn't going to hit him too hard. I don't think. I think he can get over this.
Yeah, I'd agree there. But let's talk about the last team now. There's less said about them, the better. Let's ask Beni. Marc VDS, Miller out, Rabat P19. Not really much to discuss, is there?
No, not really. They just didn't have one of their best weekend. Rabat did his usual performance. I think his time in MotoGP is up. I don't know if who heard the rumors about him and the Pramac seat, but they just I don't know what they saw in that, and I think unless there's a miraculous turnover in form in the last few races, I think that Rabat's out of a seat, and Miller, good news for him. He's got a contract with Pramac for the next season, so at least you can finish the season without worries. And this has just been one of those weekends.
Yeah, I think Miller definitely deserves that seat, and of course there's the 1 seat left at the Marc VDS. Whether they keep Rabat on, we don't know.
I hope
obviously
they do.
Morbidelli. Yeah, well, of course you do. But Morbidelli has been promoted from Moto2 to make his debut in Marc VDS. Any other changes? Obviously got Miller to Pramac. We've got Lowe's obviously going out and Reading filling that seat. But we've only got a few seats left, actually, according to Wikipedia. So let's not actually look at Wikipedia too, because we all know what Wikipedia does. But anyway, so have a quick preview for the Silverstone Grand Prix. Obviously last year Vinales won it on the Suzuki. I actually didn't realise that, with Cal Crutchlow in second and Rossi in third. I doubt it's going to be the same this year with Suzuki winning it. Matty, a top 3 prediction?
I kind of fancy Marquez. He's looked strong. Obviously he didn't win in Austria, but he looked the faster bike and the faster rider. As long as he can tone down them errors, which I'm sure he will, I'm sure he'll go on for a fairly comfortable win.
Beni, what do you think?
Well, my prediction really is going to be based upon the weather. So, if it's going to be wet, I think it's going to be a win for Rossi with Petrucci in second, and I think in the end in third it's going to be Marquez. But in the dry, I'm not really sure. The season's been so unpredictable, so I don't really know what to predict. And Silverstone's also one of those tracks that I don't think that in years past that nobody really had a huge advantage there. So, but it has been one of those tracks that Lorenzo's been performing well at. So I'm gonna go with, well, I'm gonna agree with Matthew for a Marquez win. So in second, I think we're gonna see Vinales. Looking at last year's performance, if he can repeat that in the dry this year, I think he's gonna be definitely on the podium. And in third, I think we're gonna see Lorenzo. This has always been a very good track for him, no matter if he's had no matter if the Yamaha has been the best bike or if the Honda's been quite superior at that track. So I think So in the end, wet we're gonna see wet Rossi, Petrucci, Marquez, dry Marquez, Vinales, Lorenzo.
Interesting. Well, obviously we've gone on a few rounds since we last discussed the championship. Now it's a bit further away now because we've got not Lorenzo, Dovizioso and Marquez pulling away a little bit from Rossi and Vinales. So, Matty, who's going to win the championship?
Marquez.
Beni?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Matt. With the way that this part of the season has been, it's definitely looking like another Marquez title.
I think we'd all I think I'd certainly love Dovi to win it anyway, because it's been that sort of, not necessarily zero to hero, but he's really shone this year and it's fantastic. But has Rabat still got a mathematical chance of winning it?
I think not.
Well, I was going to go and put a tenner on that, but oh well. But anyway, that's it from the MotoGP podcast on Motorcast. We'll see you in a fortnight for the Silverstone Grand Prix review. And yeah, it should be another good race and something to add to the MotoGP season. Thank you very much for listening to us today. Obviously, subscribe to the channel if you're interested in much more from the MotoGP the MotoGP podcast. It's a lot of P's, it's confusing. But Motorcast obviously has many more podcasts: the F1 podcast, the MotoGP podcast, the WRC podcast, BTCC, and much more news and reviews from Motorcast. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.